A year ago on my birthday, I posted this video which made that happen and also that one. Excuse me? I am flabbergasted. So, after exactly 365 days, I decided to recreate that old viral video of mine, and I'm going to use the same art as an example or as a reference to let's see how far I've come. I watched my old video, I cringed, cried, and almost had a severe nosebleed. Just kidding. Anyways, let's get started without further ado. So quickly, I'm going to start off by drawing the circle as every time I do. I have made the cross sign as the guideline for the eyes, nose and all the facial features. So I used two circles as the main guideline, so where I want my eyes to be. If you want a fully explained detailed tutorial on how I like to draw this type of eyes, it is already there on my channel. You can check that out. So the front eye, you can see it is very wide, and the one that is away from the viewers a little squashed. This is just a common sense, and you will gain a lot of common sense by practicing harder. I know it might suck to listen, but practicing is the key. So I did the cheeks and just a really slight guideline for the skull, so we can move around and do the rest of the hair. For the hair, I started with the chunky bangs. You also know that I don't like drawing hair strand by strand. I always draw them in chunks. So it makes the work really easier. It is time efficient and also looks pretty nice. So always remember to flip your canvas to make sure you're not messing things up. Again, just a FYI that the day the video is posted is my birthday. So yeah. I am trying my best to follow exactly how I did my previous drawing on that viral video of mine. So she had two pigtails done with some fluffy hair accessories. So I try to enhance things to use the best I can, and let's see how far we can go with this. Okay, so let me know what you think about the final piece once it's done. Like, do you think of course I need more improvement, but do you like it? Do you think I've come a little bit better, or I did a little bit of improvement? So okay, let's talk about the process. So I am as always using the jelly bean body or the bean body theory that is really easy and efficient while drawing chibi bodies. If you're interested on this, as I tell in my every videos, like really basic tutorials are always available in my channel. So if you guys want to check that out, feel free to do so. Okay, so on my previous art, she had a really thick and chunky outfit on, like a really thick sweater pose and stuff like that. So I enhanced that a bit. I did a tiny little leg pose. I think that's very cute. So how you want your body to be, you really have to have like a general concept of anatomy, because you know there is a saying, we all know that first you need to know the rules before you start breaking them. So please have a basic sense of anatomy. You can, like, if you want me to teach you, you can always request that in the comment section. But if you want to learn that from any other artist on YouTube, feel free to do so. Please don't limit yourself by following just single artists. You can just take reference from so many amazing artists out there on the internet. So just a little reminder there. So once I've done with the body, I am also working on her dress. I decided to give her a really fluffy skirt. In the old picture of mine that I am using as a reference, she actually don't have a skirt on. Don't get me wrong, that might sound very, very weird, but the photo is actually half. I mean, the torso part is only showing. The rest of the body was not a part of the portrait, but in this one, since I really enjoy drawing full body chibis these days, I always draw them in really cutesy and fun poses. So I decided to go ahead and do that. So now I am giving her glasses. I tried to give her larger glasses, but that doesn't really wasn't really like going with her vibe. So I decided to give her tiny ones because that looks very adorable and suits her style really well. So this was my sketching portion. I added one layer on top of the sketching layer, made it to the clip art section, and then I clipped it so that the sketching portion remains locked, and I colored that out. So now we can move on to the liner section. Liner section is pretty boring and monotonous, but if you guys want to know like if the line art is something that you really struggle to, please let me know. I can always make a tutorial about that. Anything you want, okay? I am skipping the line art portion as of now because there is not much to see. The video is already pretty thick and long, so don't want to make things worse. Let's going to start off by coloring. This is the really fun part. So the chibi actually is not white. I told you this was kind of inspired on how I look in real life. So I'm not white. I have a really light tan skin, if that makes sense. So I gave her tan skin as it was. So I'm going to start off with all that shading and stuff like that. Pretty much self-explanatory. But yeah, also if you are not really into me talking and explaining about the process, you really like a calm video with just a background music on, I would also post that, so no need to worry. I got you. I got everybody's preferences. So yeah, I added the shadows of the hair that is falling on her face, added the blush. Now I'm doing the face or the mouth, inside of the mouth. So now we can move on and brighten her face a little bit because it was looking kind of dull. And now we're going to move on to do her eyes. For the eyes, I'm taking a really pale yellow shade for the whites of the eyes and a pale gray color as the shadow of her upper lash line falling on her eye. So basic brown eyes as it was. I'm just following the footsteps that always been there. And I'm going to start by shading. And I'm going to apply my current shading skills or current artistic skills to improve on how I want the eyes to be. So for that, the eyes is going to be very warm, yellow, brownish kind of vibe. So of course, it's not like my chibi anymore because I don't have yellow eyes for that stuff. Just making things interesting. I'm adding yellow and some oranges at the end of it, and I'm using the really darkest shade of brown to add the irises and everything, the lens and the colorful things. You know that I always like to use colors, experiment and play with colors. And for that I used different shades of highlights for that sake, and I think that came out really cute and really balancing out the warmth that she already have in her eyes. Moving on to the second most interesting part of the art is hair. Hair can be very simple to very complicated depending on your preference. I used to have really simple art style even a year ago. Looking back, I used to do everything very simple: eyes, hair, skin color, whatever. The way I do skin color is still pretty much the same, but I have changed a lot in case of eyes and hair. So for the hair, I'm using the basic brown color as it was in the previous one, and I will just start off by shading it. Don't worry, I will have an updated hair tutorial. Not really a tutorial, just in my videos I actually show you guys how I prefer to draw a certain things like skin, hairs and stuff like that. You really don't have to, just you guys are super interested and I got a few of Instagram DMs on to show you a specific thing, so why not, right? So if that helps somebody, it is great. So I used a little bit of gradient tool. I used the airbrush, added 2 shades light brown to highlight a few sections of her hair, and I'm using this specific type of shape. I use really dark brown here and adding this weird shape that usually the light and shadow makes when it falls directly on your hair. So I observe things in a weird way, like everything. If it was anime, how would it be? This is like my way of observing stuff. So if you're an artist or really want to be one, please learn and practice observing the things around you, even as simple as like shadows and as simple as like how maybe cars run. I don't know, like observe whatever you want. Just stay on high alert. So yeah, I know really regular life rules doesn't always work when it comes to art or specifically anime type of or chibi type of art, but it's always fun to have that. So okay, I am getting really off track right now. So we are back with another like hair. What are we doing here? I'm just taking section by section, chunk by chunk, and I'm adding the shadows underneath every thick section of the hair. So now it's time for the highlights. So for the highlights, I'm using a really pale shade of orange. It is very warm shade of orange. I decided to first start off by airbrushing some brightness to her hair, and then I'm using the same weird shape, and I'm going to start off by adding the highlights to her hair. Notice how this type of shape actually adds really visual interest in the hair itself. So the more you do it, the more you'll know like where to put the shadows and the highlights. You can see I have had a lot of trial and error moments where I did and erased and did it again. So it always happens for every single artist. We like plan something else and make something else. It doesn't really matter. It not always have to go according to your plan. So yeah, now I'm still adding the highlights, as you can see, and I'm using the eraser to sharpen up the space or the shape a little bit more. Once my highlight is done, I'm taking more of a reddish brown tone and I'm adding a few layers to it around the areas where I have the highlights. This is an also additional step. I just wanted to make things a little bit of colorful. Here is the fun part and the additional step I always do no matter what type of hair I'm doing. I take really light shade of a brown and a really light shade of a purple or a blue, and I add the behindmost or the lowest most type hair chunks and I paint them the purple. The opacity of the brush remains really low, but it also adds a really good highlights or really good visual interest. I'm not really sure why it does that, but I think it really helps the viewer to understand that the hair is behind everything or at the bottom. So that really makes things look pretty. So for the puffer hair accessories, I decided to go ahead and do an upgraded version of it. I really hope you guys like that. So I personally enjoyed doing that. So let's go ahead and draw our glasses, really teeny tiny glasses. I'm adding the white and the gray shadows. You know the drill. So okay, our cutesy glasses are done and we are moving on to the outfit. So I'm following as it's shown in the reference photos and I'm just upgrading it a little bit, level up. Let's go and go ahead and do the checks she had. So checks are not very defined in the previous art, so I'm just doing however it suits my taste, and I'm adding some color to her socks. I think the socks are pretty cute. I haven't give her any shoes for whatsoever. I don't know why, but I just felt like she would be really comfy in a sock, on a knee-high length sock. So yeah, let's go ahead and finish her outfit. For the skirt, I was kind of indecisive on what shade of brown I want them to be, but once it decided, I am going to start by shading it. Shading clothes is a little bit of complicated and confusing for me right now at this point, but I am also learning from other artists on how to draw clothes properly and how to draw the folds. So you can expect a tutorial on that once I get hang of it. So I used like light browns and dark brown shades, slightly purplish tones as well, so the warmth can be balanced out using some cool tones. So here is the explanation. You got the drill. I hope so. So I took my time and really smudged out and softened up the shadows, and I think the skirt kind of came out cute, I guess. For the puffer sleeves, I used a warm tone of grey, and I'm adding the shadows as it should, and just to add a little bit of dimension, I used both warm tone and cool tone shadows depending on the color, the areas that it is in. I added a slightly bit of borderline to the shadow, I think. Yeah, that looks kind of pretty. When you see the whole picture, that looks really pretty. So let's go ahead and finish her up with using the warm toned and the cool tone grades. So what else is there to explain? Let me see. We're almost at the end of the video, and I will just only left to do the background, which is not really part of the title or part of the video, but still I am showing you guys how I did that. The most parts that actually needed an explanation is I already got over with. So you got the main portions done. The only thing is left to do is the coloring the petticoat and the blank spaces of her outfit. So yeah, the tulle skirt actually. Yeah, this is the correct term. The tulle skirt will be the correct term. So I'm using really light lilac shade, and I'm using to highlight the whiteness in the petticoat or the tulle skirt. Not really experienced about skirts, but I hope I get used to it. So pretty much the entire thing is done. Only the really teeny tiny detailing and the correction work is done, which some artists really like to call rendering. So if that is the word that you're familiar with, I'm using that word just for your convenience. So the rendering portion actually don't need any explanation, but so you can enjoy it quite like while I remain quiet. So anyways, if you guys found this video helpful, let me know in the comment section below what you want to see next. So, and also let me know while liking the video, sharing with friends and family, because your engagement really helps to grow my channel. You can comment anything, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye bye and stay cute.